when you were younger and had enough energy to get through the day without collapsing into bed at night? Well, there's a version of you who is strong, doesn't struggle with belly fat, and doesn't run out of energy before the day is done. Today, we're going to look at what works to reignite your spark so you wake up energized and excited about the day ahead. There's a lot of noise in healthcare, and you are too busy for fads. I'm Dr. Vickie, and this is Healthy Looks Great on You, a lifestyle medicine podcast, life-tested, doctor-approved. Do you just want to feel like you again? You don't need a bunch of supplements, more protein, or excessive hydration. You need the solid recommendations of lifestyle medicine, and it's been a while since I've reviewed the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine and how they connect to each other and how they can help you reach your health goals. So let's break it down. First and foremost is nutritional eating. You will never get rid of belly fat or minimize lifestyle-related diseases without a balanced diet. As they say, you can't outrun a bad diet. So while exercise is super important, your diet has to be the foundation where you build a healthy body. And lifestyle medicine advocates a plant-based diet. And don't stop listening, hear me out, before you think that you either can't or won't, or maybe your family won't, eat more plants. Because lifestyle medicine isn't the only field that advocates a plant-based diet. The American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association, the American Medical Association, the World Health Organization, the British National Health Service, and the Dietitians of Canada, as well as many reputable medical centers. Now, what I advocate is a real-world, achievable diet. Not vegan. You know how anyone who's vegan never misses an opportunity to tell you they're vegan. I'm not talking about that. You can be vegan and eat Pop-Tarts. And I'm not even telling you to be a strict vegetarian. You don't have to eat bean sprouts and tofu all the time to lose belly fat, maximize heart and brain health, and minimize diseases like type 2 diabetes. But incorporating more berries, more green leafy vegetables, more whole grains instead of enriched ones, less meat, and less dairy is undoubtedly healthy for you. And hey, learning to cook with a little tofu is kind of fun. And in case you're wondering, I get most of my protein from beans and legumes. Is it enough? Well, let me share some personal information. One day, I looked in my lap and wondered where in the world that roll over my jeans came from. Now look, I'm in my 60s and I don't expect to have the gymnast, cheerleader body that I had 45 years ago. But I want to feel good and I want to do everything in my power to combat what's in my genes. Not the rollover in my blue jeans, but the genetic code which I inherited that puts me at risk for diabetes, heart attack, stroke, and dementia. And at this age, I feel like it's now or never. So I went radical. I tracked everything I put in my mouth for 2 weeks, committed to being completely vegetarian, and if I'm honest, hungry. And if you know me and my family, we don't really do well with hungry or hangry, as we say. But let me tell you, that belly fat melted off. I lost 8 pounds in 2 weeks. And it was too much, too fast. I felt weak, really weak. And what I needed was a sustainable diet that works in the real world. And if that's what you're looking for, then you will not want to miss an episode of Healthy Looks Great on You podcast, because I'm going to show you how you can incorporate more plants into your diet and at the family dinner table without anyone complaining. In fact, sometimes I share some of my favorite recipes. So follow this podcast on YouTube or Apple, or even better, subscribe to get every episode in your inbox. Just go to my website, healthylooksgreatonyou.com, and there are lots of resources there for you. And if you sign up for any of them, you automatically get every episode. And I promise everything I share is evidence-based and research proven for you to become the healthiest version of you. Now, if you've got that friend who only eats keto and so they want to go to a steakhouse for dinner, then go. I do. Now, I used to be able to eat a couple of bites of steak, but now I have trouble digesting it. It is so amazing how fast you lose your taste for meat. But I try to fill up on mushrooms and broccoli and salad. And I know that may not sound good to you, but I promise we'll get to the real world stuff. But you know what I've never learned to resist is hot buttered bread. There's nothing like it. You see, the difference between what I'm doing now and what I did before is that it is sustainable for the long haul. I can stay on this diet and it allows some wiggle room. But you know what else now has some wiggle room? My genes. Did my belly fat melt away? No. It just slowly disappeared. And honestly, I didn't notice it in the process. But here's the deal. I didn't feel like I was doing anything radical or hard. And I didn't really focus on changing my diet. What I did was change how I thought about food. That food is to nourish me. And I thought about all the nutritional components of food, not to satisfy loneliness or boredom or as a centerpiece for social events, but as a building block for a healthy body. And once I changed how I thought, I changed how I ate. And that changed how I felt. And that is what self-perpetuates. Because when thinking that healthy feels great keeps you eating healthy, it's just contagious. My grandson and I were FaceTiming not long ago, and I was eating an apple, and he told his mom, I want an apple because Vivi's got an apple. Wow. So it's spinning in the right direction now, and the belly fat has stayed off instead of reappearing as soon as I fell off the wagon, because without a mindset shift, I will fall off the wagon, and you probably will too. Now let's talk about fitness. And let me ask you a question. Why do you exercise? Maybe you just said, I don't. Well, that's okay. Do you want to move? Because I really can't imagine someone wanting to be a couch potato. Like, that's not a goal. It's a side effect. And like anything else, side effects tend to multiply. Here's what happened to me. I got married, but my husband and I didn't really live together the first year of our marriage. In fact, we lived in different states. Yeah, I know. But it was a transition time and a transit time, mostly because his job had no flexibility and mine did, but guess what I lost? Flexibility and muscle. Hours spent in the car, locked my hips, and they hurt so bad I couldn't move. And I tried stretching a little, but I really seriously didn't have time to exercise. And I got so out of shape that it was difficult and hurt to stand up. Fortunately, a year after we were married, opportunity came along. He changed jobs, I quit mine, and we moved to another city. And we bought a house close to the gym. I'm talking walking distance. And not only that, there's a 6-mile sidewalk near my house that's safe to walk. Plus, we got a puppy and she needs to walk. All of that added up to more movement. And here's the deal. For me, I have to make an appointment to go to the gym. And so then I feel committed, like somebody's expecting me to show up. That commitment is so important in the success of your fitness plan. And listen, the more you move, the more you can move. And the more you'll want to move, and the more you'll feel good moving. Now, I'll admit, my friend makes fun of me because she says I can go to the gym one day a week and get ripped. And to some degree, it's a little bit true. But one day a week makes a big difference for me. But you know it's not that simple, right? But muscles are like habits. The more you use them, the stronger they get. And I feel as fit as I ever did and strong without taking supplements or obsessing over getting enough protein. Now, I will mention that I take a vitamin B supplement because there is no vitamin B12 in plants. And I think that's the mistake I made before that made me feel weak. So eat more plants and take a vitamin B supplement so that you get that vitamin B12. Now let's keep moving and move on to stress. Stress is good for you. You heard that correctly. Stress is good for you. Our bodies are designed to release cortisol, impulses. It actually keeps us alert and optimizes performance. I mean, think about it. Who doesn't run around and get stuff done when there's a deadline to get you motivated? Stress isn't bad. Chronic stress is. It's when you get stuck and that cortisol faucet is turned on and it's flowing through your body constantly, and it affects your mental health and your physical health. And it contributes to fatigue and disrupted sleep and belly fat, and that fuels more stress and even depression, and anxiety. And if you want to feel great, then you've got to leverage stress to work for you and not against you. There's a reason it's called stress management and not stress elimination. Now, let's go to mini medical school just for a minute and talk about cortisol and productivity. You see, cortisol follows what's called a diurnal rhythm. That goes with your body's natural internal 24-hour clock. Cortisol levels tend to peak in the morning. They're about 50 to 60% higher in that first hour after waking. And that's called the cortisol awakening response, and it helps you feel alert and energized and ready to tackle the day. So leverage that. Do your most complex task in the morning when your brain is so alert. Typically, levels tend to decline through the day and then pulse again around meals or exercise or mild stress, and that's okay. But in the evening, it should reach its lowest point so that you can relax and go to sleep. We'll talk about sleep in just a minute, but first I want to talk about harmful substances. When I'm doing good stuff for my body, I have no desire to put unhealthy stuff in it. Think about it this way. Do you love the smell of a new car? But then the first time you go through Chick-fil-A drive-thru and it starts to smell like chicken nuggets, it gets easier to go to McDonald's and then Sonic and so on. So how do you make that new car smell last? Well, you keep anything that pollutes it or contaminates it out. And I know it's not that simple, but one way to avoid too much harmful anything is fasting. Whether it's sugar or alcohol or tobacco, you can fast for something and that helps break the addiction. The other thing you can do is focus on filling up with the good stuff. Either way, if you'll pamper your body, you're less likely to need alcohol or snacks to do it. And you want to know what else is important in this is social connection. I mentioned that I moved to a new town and I left behind a great network of friends. And y'all, making friends is not easy at this age, and let's be honest, it's not really easy at any age. You can go to church or join a group or a club and introduce yourself to your neighbors. And yes, that works eventually, but genuine relationships take time. They also take a willingness to give and a willingness to take. And on this one, the best thing I can tell you is stick with it. Accept yourself for who you are and find your people. And my people, they know I'm passionate about sleep. What I love about sleep is how connected it is to the other pillars of lifestyle medicine. And you know, some people have talked about making a seventh pillar as nature, and nature is important. In fact, the Bible says that God's character is evident through creation. But if we make it the seventh pillar, am I going to have to sleep outside to connect sleep and nature? Sounds romantic, but not really very practical. But sleep is tightly connected to gut health. That's where sleep hormones are made. So what you eat affects how you sleep, and the reverse is true as well. Just one night of poor sleep can trigger cravings for unhealthy foods, and it increases the risk for obesity and type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And of course, your body needs to move to enhance sleep, and when you sleep well, you'll have more energy and perform better physically and mentally. I had a really bad night sleeping last Tuesday. It happens, and I know why, but then Wednesday's my golf day, and I played terrible. I'm not sure if it was physical fatigue or lack of mental focus, but I can tell you that sleep at night affects everything about your day and vice versa. Everything about your day affects sleep at night. And excess stress not only keeps you from sleeping well, but poor sleep makes you handle stress poorly. Cortisol levels that are supposed to be low at bedtime are high if your brain is living in a constant state of alertness. And then you'll struggle to turn off your mind and sleep. And I promise I can help you with that. If you're struggling to turn off your mind and sleep, as soon as this podcast is over, which is just a few minutes, I want you to head over to my website, healthylooksgreatonyou.com, and download a free resource that'll automatically subscribe you to get every episode of this podcast in your inbox. But you do not want to miss these resources because I promise they work. Now, substances certainly interfere with sleep, not just caffeine, but alcohol, sugar, and salt. This is just another cycle that spins faster once it gets started. Didn't sleep well, you grab another cup of coffee in the afternoon, then you can't relax, so you have a cocktail to help you fall asleep, which keeps you from getting restorative sleep, and the cycle is on repeat. And social connections are related to sleep too. Your relationships suffer when you don't sleep well. Your fuse tends to be shortest with the people who are closest to you. And oxytocin plays a role in sleep too. We'll go to mini medical school and learn about that on another day. But I think you can start to see why sleep is my favorite pillar. Not pilla, or for those of you who don't live in the South, pillow. But you got to admit, sleep is the 800 thread count that pulls it all together. Nutrition, fitness, stress management, minimizing harmful substances, social connectedness, and sleep are the keys to feeling good and being healthy. You likely already knew that. But the problem is you're too busy and you've tried to make changes. Or maybe you've even started strong, but then you don't stick with it. And you don't need more information. You need a plan that works in the real world. And it starts with healthy habits. And if you can envision the healthiest version of you, but you need a little help getting going, then check out my Kickstart program to help you lose belly fat exactly the way that I did. Because healthy habits really are the foundation to better health. And when your health is better, you'll feel better, and healthy looks great on you.
The information contained in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not considered to be a substitute for medical advice. You should continue to follow up with your physician or healthcare provider and take medication as prescribed. Though the information in this podcast is evidence-based, new research may develop and recommendations may change.